Barbie. Aren't we going to talk about Barbie?
Oh my God. Let's talk about Barbie. So, what did you like about it?
I loved all of it. Like, and it's funny because I really didn't have any desire to see it. And then I was listening to a podcast I really like, and the woman even said, if you're planning to see Barbie, turn this off because I'm going to spoil it. And I listened to it because I was like, I'm not going to see it till it comes on Netflix. Like, I had no desire to go see it. And as she talked about it, I was like, I want to see this movie. She was talking about the feminism and the power dynamic. And she talked a little bit about the plot line, but not a lot. It was just like that overarching like theme. And the fact women were in charge, and um how Ken responded when he came back, like seeing men being in charge. And I don't know, but the way she talked about it, I was like, okay, I want to see this movie. Like, what the hell? And then, I was just, I mean, after the breakup, I was just going through like a really hard time for a little bit. And I was talking to my therapist, and she, at the end of our session that same week, she was like, I'm giving you one thing to do this week. She's like, I want you to go see Barbie. And I'm like, that's so weird. I just listened to this podcast. I told her about it. And she goes, seriously, she's like, it'll make you feel good. It's just fun. It's light, like it's light, but it's serious. And she's like, I think you'll really enjoy it. She's like, go see it. And so I went. And yeah, I liked it a lot more than I thought I was going to.
Really? And I liked it a lot less than I thought I was going to. Now, I, again, didn't hate it, right? I'm not, there's just two things in it that I didn't enjoy. And they sort of, it inevitably ruined it for me.
What was that?
One of them was, I loved that all the Barbies were different. That was awesome, right? That made me happy. I loved that they were sharp and intelligent, and so that the whole feminist aspect of it I loved, for lack of a better term, feminist, right? I mean, it just was real. The real women are smart. Real women.
And that's the thing that I liked about it, is I never really thought about Barbie in that way, right? Of like the fact that every single Barbie, because I mean, I was just never a Barbie player, doll holder, whatever, but it's like, yeah, they do have doctors and lawyer Barbie and like judge Barbie. And the fact that she thought all women were like, I don't know. So sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but go ahead.
No, you did. But yes, and so I liked that part of it. I liked the acting, right? I mean, I thought all the actors were great. That wasn't what I didn't like it. The two things that I didn't like about it were when she came back and they were figuring out how to take over, it was manipulative and mean, and I didn't love that. It kind of made me really sad. Let's get all the kids together, let's fool them, let's lie to them, let's misguide them, and let's get them mad at each other so they beat the shit out of each other. I was just like, really? That's your plan? That's your plan? That's a terrible plan. Why not sit them down and have a reasonable conversation with them? Why not?
Okay, fair. But I think, and I could be way off and wrong about this, I think that was symbolic in terms of like what the rich do to us here at the bottom in politics.
And we hate it.
But that's what we do. That's what they do. That's how I took that, is it was like they basically did what rich old white men have been doing to poor people, brown people, women, keeping us all
that just makes them
fighting.
like everybody else then. I mean, it didn't get the right point across, is what I was feeling. It was like, here you have these smart, intelligent, genuine doll / women, And now they're having them do low base shit that bad people do. It made me mad. I was just like, that's
Mhm.
bullshit. That was
That's
my
fair.
first, I was angry at that. I admit it. I was literally like, are you fucking kidding me? This is what we fight against every day. Why not? It's a fantasy movie. It's a fucking movie. Why not show them solving their problem in a good manner? That's what I felt. That was why that was the first reason why I didn't like it. The second reason why I didn't like it, and I actually admit I was crying and I walked out. So I probably missed something that was important, but at the end, she didn't want to be who she was, and she wanted to change who she was. She wanted to be a real person. And I'm like, what? What? You just went through all of that. You just got them all to become everything back to normal, and now you want to walk away and be human. I'm like, I'm out. I was out at that point. Out.
Mm.
Because we don't have that luxury, right? And so again, if you're going to be this fantasy movie where she can change into a real human being from a doll, then why can't you solve your problems like, like reasonable people? I'm like, that's what I was irritated at. Everything else was fabulous, but that's what I walked away going, all of that, and now you just want to become a real person. Now I don't want to be stereotypical Barbie. Why not? Look what you accomplished as stereotypical Barbie. You kind of accomplished an amazing thing. It's not good enough. Now you want to be human. So, and I mean, if that's the message we're sending little girls, we're in trouble. That's where I came from.
What do you think the message is that's so damaging to little girls?
You're not good enough. No matter what you do, you're just not good enough. You better be someone else. Better wish to be someone else because you are not good enough. I was literally, again, look how mad I am. So yeah, no,
Hmm.
I did not like Barbie. I thought the separate, like the acting was great, like the visual stimulation was amazing. I'm thrilled to death that a woman director, independent woman director, has done over $1 billion. Yes, all of those things are great. I didn't love it.
No, I think that's fair. I just don't know that I agree with you about her changing into a human being bad. Like, I think she realized, like,
Well, then why not change all of them into humans then?
maybe the others didn't want that.
See, and that's why I think it is bad. And plus it's just my opinion, right? That's
No,
just
no, I think that's a really interesting point. I just didn't see it that way. Like, I felt like she, for the first time, had feelings, and when she was crying, and like, I felt like she was feeling what humans felt, and that made her want that a little bit more. And
but why
I thought
couldn't
it was,
she remain a doll and still, because she was crying as a, I mean, the feelings are now, they know more now than they did when they started, right? Learning is good, but why do you have to then suddenly give up who you are?
but that's the thing, is she didn't really give up, because I mean, this is where, okay, that may be like, and I know this is a very slippery slope and very like, it could be considered controversial, even though I don't think it should be, but I could see how it could be, is that's very similar to maybe the trans thing, right?
Mhm.
Like, if you're born into a certain body, but you don't want, that's not how you want to identify anymore. And I thought that I think it's a really great thing to be able to say, like, if you don't like who you are, or you don't, or you want to change, because I never got the feeling she didn't like who she was. I think it was more of like, I want a new experience, and I want to experience this. And I think having new experiences is like a good thing.
Yeah, but she had new experiences and could continue to have those new experiences. And I guess for me, she didn't want to change the outside, right? She wanted to change the core, the inside, like the
No,
soul of
oh,
the matter.
so you missed the last scene then, right? So you got up,
Yeah.
got out. So the last scene,
I made it to the point where Ruth was saying, I gotta tell you this. What kind of mother would I be if I didn't tell you this one thing? When she wanted to become human. I made it all the way to that. And I'm just like, oh, I'm gone. I'm out.
so she, and again, maybe I totally took this the wrong way, like 100%. Um, it ends with her going to the gynecologist. And a part of me was like, she just wants to have sex. Because Barbies and Kens don't have,
Don't
because
have anatomy. Right.
and she was all excited. Like she gets there and she's like at the doctor. I thought it was hilarious. Because I'm like, what woman ever is excited to go to the
Yeah,
gynecologist?
not one.
Not one
Unless
ever.
you're fucking your gynecologist.
I did go to when I first moved to New York, my very first gynecologist was so hot.
Yeah.
Oh my
I mean, it
God.
might be worth it at that point, but the thing is okay, so separate from how the movie directs you, when she says, I don't want to be a doll anymore, I want to be human, that's changing the core of who you are.
I have to
And
see, I think it's more of the anatomy or like the she just wanted like a vagina. Like that's and to like not
oh,
live in a fairy tale. I think maybe that was part of it too, is that she realized like the real world was so different and that was like the world she wanted to experience and live in and try to change there too. Like I almost felt like she, you know, when she went to Mattel and saw that it was all these men and that it's a completely different world, I felt like she wanted to come back and be like, no, like women should be in these positions of power, or women, I don't know. I felt
we
like she wanted to make a better, like be a human to make humans better. Because they didn't really talk about like if she stayed a doll, if she could come live in the country. I guess she could.
I mean, wouldn't that be the whole point of changing? I mean, just getting anatomy isn't changing who you are. So,
But that's what I mean. I didn't feel like she was changing who she was.
and yet that's what she was asking. I mean, that's what I got out of it. If you, I don't want to be a doll anymore, is changing who you are. And especially because there was a whole race of dolls that she didn't, I mean, nobody said, hey, you know what? Why don't we all live together in a combined world and learn and teach each other? I mean, like going around on the thought process that you're on, right? Like now everything's still separate. And that's where I was just like, oh my God, you're literally just solidifying the problem we have as a human race, which is us and them. And I struggle with the us and them and always will, just so you know.
So, in your opinion, and for Barbie, it was an us and them in terms of the dolls versus
Yeah,
the
the humans. I mean,
Hmm.
even to get to those two locations, which I also thought was really funny and enjoyed that part of it. Like that part of it made me laugh. That part was, oh yeah, I totally get it. In order to get from the doll world to the human world, you've got to drive in your car, fly to the moon, do your rollers. I thought, oh, clever. And that's exactly, so a lot of that came through. Oh, and as a side note, America's speech that snapped the Barbies out of their craziness.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Fucking brilliant.
No, it
Just
was brilliant. Yeah.
brilliant.
I that was like my one criticism. I mean, I had a couple criticisms, but it still wasn't enough for me not to like it. It was like I really liked her speech. but then the fact that she had to give it to each one individual, like that whole thing, I just felt like it was kind of overkill. Like it was, or I don't know. I just felt like there could have been a different way for them to snap the Barbies out of it. Like that just seemed strange to me.
Yeah. And so that's why I didn't hate the movie, even though the things that I didn't like, I'm very vitriol about, I admit it.
Yeah.
Now, the other thing is, and so Pepsi did this to me back in the 70s or early 80s, and it sort of just, I'm like, okay. And when Pepsi told me I had to pick between Coke and Pepsi with the Pepsi challenge, like we're going to do a taste test and America's going to pick, I'm like, okay, I pick Coke. So
Mm.
I almost, not that it was the movie, none of the actors, it just it's media that does this to the world. We had to choose between Oppenheimer and Barbie, and I have seen both, and I fucking loved Oppenheimer. Have you
I
seen
really
it?
want to see that. No, I haven't
Oh
seen
my god,
that.
it's long,
3 hours, I
3
heard. But I heard
hours
it's,
long.
yeah. I heard an interview with, oh, who was it? He was an author. I can't think of his name, but he was an author who had written extensively about the atomic bomb. And was it Truman? Was Truman president or Wilson?
Uh,
Who, I think it was
Truman.
Truman who gave, right. And he said his one criticism was one scene, and he's like, most people wouldn't know this, but he had just done so much research and writing about Truman and the relationship with Oppenheimer, that he said there was a scene where Oppenheimer had come to Truman basically to tell him how uncomfortable he was. I think, I don't remember if he said it was the first dropping or the second dropping of the bomb, but that Truman basically kind of rolled his eyes and like sent him out of the room. And he's like, Truman would have never done that.
Right. Okay.
Like,
But I
and
mean, sure.
he was like, that was totally added, clearly. And he's like, am I going to complain about it? No, but he's like, there's absolutely no way that Truman would have treated him that way.
Yeah. And and mind you, this may be because I'm running it through my own filter, in all fairness. I never got the impression that anybody in general higher up ever thought this is the greatest thing since sliced bread that we're doing. You get the impression that everybody is like the weight of the world is on them
Yeah.
because of what they're about to do. I mean,
They
that,
didn't have a choice. I mean, I've done
yeah,
enough reading about the atom bomb and um just that time period, that in their calculation, whether right or wrong, was like so many more people would have died because the Japanese were just not going to give up. And
no,
they had those kamikaze fight. I mean, they were going to fight to the death. And
yep,
I mean, you would hope that there would have been other ways to end, but